Hi everyone, welcome to another Gypsy Live. I'm Rachel, the online community manager for the Gypsy Nurse, and we want to thank you all for joining us. Today we'll be having some familiar faces from travel nurse across America come on and share their insights on COVID and the vaccine. We want to welcome Rose Fulton, JEliassen, and a new face, Wendy Craver. We usually just have Jill and Rose and a guest on, so thank you, Wendy, for joining us. Don't be too
Hi.
afraid. All right, well, I'll let you ladies get started, and thank you.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Rachel. Jill, here we are again.
Yay!
Welcome, Wendy. Welcome, Wendy. I'm going to show this to you. Welcome. Hello, Gypsy community. We are here. We are here to share with you what we know so that we can spread the good word and give you some information that you can use and hopefully provide some calm and some care to y'all and some clarity about big questions that are happening as travelers in this market are managing through this period of this wave of COVID. I have to show this to Wendy because this really made me think of her.
Oh my gosh! Yes, that's amazing.
Right, isn't that funny? I'll get
Are
you
you
one.
sending? I feel like I need to have
I
that.
think you need to have one. So let's just go around and just do some introductions. And then from there, I would love for you to know more about our panel. These two that I'm surrounded with today are gems. So not only are they smart as a whip and have extraordinary experience, but they're fun and caring and just a blast to do these with. So we'll do some introductions and then we'll get into our topics. Sound good? So I'll start off with you, Miss Jill.
Oh, thanks. Well, my name is Jill. As you all know, I'm the Vice President of Clinical Services at Travel Nurse Across America. I have been a registered nurse for 23 years. I worked at the bedside for years in many different specialty realms. And I've been in healthcare staffing now for 12 years, which I adore and love that I can still just provide so much support to the industry. I'll share briefly that I have a large clinical team at TNAA. We support so many travelers today. The beauty of it is that 50% of my team is still at the bedside. So we're really understanding everything that's happening in today's tough environments, and we're here to just support and learn and help each other in a fun way, sometimes in a hard way, but we're definitely getting through day by day. So I'm glad to see everyone again today. Can't wait to take your comments and have good discussions.
Thanks, Jill. Wendy, you're up.
Hi everyone, I am Wendy Craver and I'm one of the senior QA directors with TNAA. I have been in healthcare staffing for about 17 years now, so I've been doing this for a little while. And what I do is compliance, all things compliance. So I look forward to sharing the knowledge that we at TNAA have been gathering surrounding all of this. Yeah, so I look forward to answering any questions that you guys might have.
We are very happy to have Wendy join us. Jill and I, when we were talking about the topics and what was pressing, we were like, QA, oh my gosh, everything from what hospitals are requiring, right? We're going to talk on vaccine requirements and what we're seeing. And Wendy is just an expert and her team is extraordinary and she's a magician. And those of you who don't know this, you need to know this, that your QA department, compliance department at your agency, you have to be best friends with them because they make it or break it for you. And she's here to answer questions about QA in general. So I'm very excited we've got her on board. I'm Rose Fulton. I'm the Senior Vice President of Recruitment at Travel Nurse Across America. I've been in the industry for 16 years and I lead up the recruitment team here. I come from a family of healthcare people. So I was too dumb to be a nurse. So to all of you nurses, I met Introduction to Chemistry and that completely doused my nursing dreams. But at the end of the day, I come from a family of healthcare providers and I'm really humbled and grateful to be here today to share with you what we know and what we've learned, and hopefully we can make your path a little easier. When we get together at TNAA, we always take time to acknowledge and pray for and send out as many positive vibes and gratitude and strength and healing and compassion as we can to all the travelers out there who are giving so much of themselves under the hardest of circumstances. So I would love if y'all would join us in 8 seconds just to acknowledge and send out good vibes and peace and healing and strength and supreme gratitude to everybody who's at a patient's bedside today. All right. Well, Wendy, the hot topic. Let's talk about what hospitals are telling us when it comes to vaccine requirements. And Jill and I can chime in, but I'd love for Wendy to have the floor to just share with you sort of how these requirements are coming down to us, what they're looking like, and how we're working on them with our nurses to help our nurses get on board or figure out something else. So Wendy, floor is yours.
Thank you for that intro. So what we're seeing kind of across the board is the vaccine is required in most cases. They are accepting or at least entertaining medical or religious declinations. And what that is, you know, it's going to be dependent on your hospital system that you're going to. Most of them have their own forms. So, you know, as we get the information from the hospitals, they're giving us, you know, we need to know by X date. Usually it's looking like it's September-ish. Most folks are kind of wanting to know where everyone's at with it. We have seen some that were a little later, you know, October, giving us till then. But in general, these hospital systems kind of want to know what their travel workforce is going to be looking like as far as vaccine status. You know, they're really a lot, and a lot of what we're seeing right now is it's just simple yes or no. They're asking us, you know, hey, can you reach out to your active folks, find out, you know, yes or no, are you already vaccinated, and what their plan is. So they are giving us some pretty good lead times. You know, they're giving us enough time.
Better than what you thought initially?
Better than what
better than how you thought? Like when we first heard this, we were like, oh, what's gonna happen?
We were so scared. Yes. Okay. We just knew we were gonna get, okay, we have to have all of these, you know, by the end of August. But no, it's been a much smoother process. But in general, it's really up to the health system. They kind of all have their own thing, but yeah, that's what we're seeing. We're basically getting the info from the health systems. We're reaching out to the folks that we currently have working at those systems, or if we have, you know, the info ahead of time, they're putting it in our job postings so that we'll know, you know, that we'll know ahead of time what's going to be the requirement.
Great. Yeah, we've been meeting on this for months. Like when it feels like everything feels like 6 months. So we started to know that this was coming down the pike, and you know, your agencies, I'm sure, have been talking about this for a long time and have contingencies in place and have been thinking through it. And we are very pleased to report, as Wendy will attest, that this has gone a lot smoother than we thought. And we feel that it's been respectful and that it has been at a pace that we can keep up, because on top of everything that our compliance teams have to do with getting nurses to be on assignment, now we've added another part to their plate, right? Of, okay, are you vaccinated or not? Jill, what do you want to share on this topic?
Oh gosh. Well, I think Wendy did a phenomenal job of recapping kind of what we're dealing with internally. It seems and feels like the big influx of hospital systems requiring has slowed up a little bit, which I think is good. But again, we take this day by day. Things change so fast in this pandemic that we're all kind of enduring. So it's tough to say, is it going to stay that way? Is it going to speed up? Is it going to change in 100% or going to require? We just don't know. So we're taking it day by day, just as you, the travelers, are. You know, I think think it's important to understand that we follow what our facilities require for our travelers. We don't have a lot of internal requirements ourselves. We follow Joint Commission requirements, our governing agencies for requirements, and then we follow what our facilities require. And I think it's just really important for travelers to understand and know, and I think most of you do, that you have a choice. And you can make the choice of where you want to make your next travel assignment with your recruiter and with your agency and with your team. And I think that's the beauty of it all right now, is that there's just a lot of choices for you. So I think that's great. But Wendy recapped it fantastic.
Good. Hey folks, gypsies, are you out there? Do we need to bribe you for comments or questions? Like, hello? I mean, all right, so are we throwing out $10 Starbucks gift cards to the first 3 people who put something in this margin for me? Because I can riff with these 3 all the time. I probably riff a lot better after hours with an adult beverage. However, I can make that happen now, not a problem. But if you guys want to join in, please do. There were definitely questions ahead of time around which jobs require the vaccine, which don't. So it's changing all the time. So your best bet, right, is to be in contact with your recruiter, to get educated, have the recruiter review those things with you. We talk to nurses who are applying all the time. You complete your application. Oh, thank you, Angela. Thank you. Give this girl a prize, please. Give Angela. Thank you. So we are just really clear, like around we've got more jobs than ever, guys. Big surprise. Big surprise. Our jobs we've got 5 times the amount of jobs today. That's all it took. Thanks. I feel so good right now. The dopamine that you get from social media is kicking. It's firing off. So thank you. Thank you, Shonda. Thank you, Sarah. So we're finding too that if you get in there and you are talking to your recruiter, they can really educate you about the market. They can really talk to you about not just vaccination status, but guys, the jobs are all over the place and the rates are all over the place. So it's important that you choose a recruiter who understands you, knows what you're looking for, understands your skill set, understands what you're capable of based on your resume and your training, and that they're able to present options to you because there's a lot out there. Remember though, a hospital may say that they don't require a vaccine today, and then tomorrow they will contact Wendy and say, we need to make sure that everybody who's coming is vaccinated. So just know that that is beyond our control, but we will do everything we can to be completely honest, transparent, upfront with you, and calmly go through your options. So there we have it on vaccines. So I think I've got a question from Laura. It's tough when you see even the core staff having issues about being vaccinated. Here in Washington, I'm in Washington too, Laura. I'm in Vancouver, Washington. Washington in the house. It's a state mandate and there's definitely discontent, but it's also starting to amplify again. So it's definitely a necessity. Thank you for being so supportive during these uncertain times. Also, any new assignments in Washington do come with this disclaimer. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. We really appreciate that, Laura. We wanted to kind of get the vaccine conversation and just kind of get that out in the beginning. So hey, Armin, just join this. Are you recruiters? Yeah, I am. So I am the Senior Vice President of Recruitment. So I'm sort of the grand poobah of recruiters at Travel Nurse Across America. So I can handle recruiting questions for you. We also have Wendy Craver. Wendy Craver is our quality assurance expert. She's been doing this for like 18 years. She's a whiz. And then we also have JEliassen, who is our VP of Clinical Services, and she is there for advocacy and education and supporting clinicians at the bedside all over the country. She's got an incredible team. She's a genius. She sits on boards. She's phenomenal. So we don't just have recruiters, man. We got like QA and we've got clinical. So we got it all covered. So let's do this. Keep questions coming. We're not bots. We really think on our feet and we can handle anything you throw at us within reason. So we wanted to take some time and pivot. You got it. And pivot over to what to be prepared for and what are the pros and what are the cons of travel right now. What are the pros and what are the cons of travel right now? What are travel assignments right now and how to prepare yourself and how to advocate for yourself. So Jill has done a terrific job of mapping out some talking points for you and giving you guys some real examples. So I'm going to let her have the floor, and Jill, we're here if you need us.
Okay, well, there's so much to talk about, and it's so hard to find a starting point, if you will. Travel has evolved, nursing has evolved, our industry has changed. I think I've heard some nurses talk about how it's been flipped upside down, inside out, been wrung like a washcloth, but everyone's still in it and they're doing the best that they can. So what we see in the clinical department, we see so many different things, but I really wanted to focus on things that you as a traveler can do to make the assignments the best that you possibly can. It's really tough when you're pulled into a facility with little to no orientation on a good day, and you get tossed into your unit and you're just taking tons of patients. And what I mean by tons is, you know, we were all fighting at the federal level prior to the pandemic to get better ratios for nurses. Now the ratios have gotten even worse. They've gotten even higher and heavier, and it's too difficult to fight at the federal level right now because we just need to be at the bedside to take care of all the people out there. So, and I see so many comments and it's distracting me, but I love it. So here's Shonda. I'm just going to take Shonda's for a second. That was my issue. I was 2 days from starting an assignment when my recruiter informed me that the hospital now required the vaccine. I was very skeptical when she came back to say, Shonda, I promise 100% you will be exempt. Oh goodness, I'm so sorry to hear that, Shonda. That caught my eye, so I just had to kind of toss my comment over there and repeat what you had said, Shonda. And hey, Ratliff, we love you. And Steve Curtin, thanks for covering this important topic. Anyways, I'll try not to take my eyes off the comments for a second and get back to travelers. It's so hard. Like I want to talk to everybody. I'm a people person and I miss people and I just want to talk to everybody. But some of the good things I think that a traveler can prepare themselves for today is a great thing to focus on that we can all kind of relate to. And then this will bounce back to you a little bit, Wendy, about the compliance piece. But, you know, I think working with your recruiter and finding the assignment that's going to be the best for your needs right now is so, so important. Everything is different. So go where the need drives you and where you're ready to take on the challenge. I've talked to several nurses today who want a quote unquote palate cleanse assignment. I love that verbiage. I think it's fantastic.
Love
yes,
that.
I stole that from you, Anna Marie, if you're out there. But those palate cleanse assignments are hard to come by right now. So I just caution everyone to really search and look for the right assignment for you and kind of where your mindset's at right now. Having that interview with your facility and asking specific questions about how things are going is super important. And I think the most important piece of advice I can give is understand what's happening in the community where you think you're going to go. Don't just look at COVID rates across the United States and everything's climbing and there's the Delta variant and there's, of course, we all know that, but take a deep dive into the community where you choose to go to see what's happening in that community. And you could be pleasantly surprised. There are still a lot of communities that have very, very, very low COVID rates, but that could change in the next week. So I think a community deep dive is super important. An interview to discuss what's going on in the facility is super important. Understand what resources are still available in the assignment for you is beyond important. Do they still have CNAs? Do they have transport on the unit? Do you have team nursing on that unit? What does your support look like while you're there? Some of the best advices that my team gives to travelers today is to book up with a partner. Always have a partner in your day. Maybe you team nurse together so that you've got the moral support for one another and you're there to be with each other through these high ratio shifts that wear you out. Asking for more orientation is not out of the question. If you need more time to find emergency supplies, to understand where policies are, to understand what doctors are on call. I mean, I really could just flood this with so much information, but those are just really good things that you can do to advocate for yourself so that you 100% understand how things are going to go as you walk through this assignment. The other important piece, and I'm going to flip it back to you, Wendy, is just how to stay on top of your credentialing and how to make that process seamless, because that can really rock your world if you're onboarding with a facility and it doesn't go as smooth as you had planned. So I think we pivot to Wendy to kind of focus on some of those tricks of the trade that she knows so well because she's done this so well, and maybe compare the nurse who onboarded with compliance seamlessly and some of the things that happen when it's not seamless. I think that's a great place to go next.
I would say, to Jill's point about keeping your compliance up to date, keep in mind with certifications come to mind right now, because believe it or not, we're still seeing where folks are having issues getting their BLS, PALS, all of, their certifications that they need to work, getting them renewed or obtaining a new one for a job. It's still very difficult to find your in-person skill sessions. So, work really closely with your compliance contact, at your agency, because ideally they're going to have resources and can help you do that. So that would be one thing, to reach out and make sure that you're not running up against, the end of the month before you try to renew something. And then to prep, go ahead, if you know that you're going to be submitting a medical or religious declination for this vaccine, or if you have your vaccine on file already, if you have your stuff on file, get that into your recruiter or to your compliance, whoever it is who you're working with, so that they have that in your file, so that they have that on file, and that part will be ready to go. Also remember that for things like TB, I know the CDC finally did say you could get other vaccines along with the COVID vaccine, but they're still not recommending doing TB skin tests or drawing the TB titers within a certain time frame. So there are a lot of factors that you kind of have to allow for that we don't have to deal with normally. So just really trying to work closely, I would say, with your compliance person to make sure that all of your file is buttoned up and ready to go at a moment's notice.
Thanks,
awesome.
Wendy.
Look at the good comments. Shonda, thank you. Very good advice. I seek out other travelers. We work together. I'm telling you, that is the first thing I do on a travel assignment. Find out who everyone is on the unit and get your partners. It's just such a better way to get through a long, it's not a 12-hour shift. It's 13 or 14 hours that you're there. And it's just better to have a partner when you're working in these tough environments, for sure.
Shonda, you better be careful with this 100%. You'll be exempt.
Yeah.
I'm not here to paint rainbows and freaking butterflies for you. Like, no.
That's not what I'm
seeing. You have to, like, when we talk about advocating for yourself on the unit, and Jill's going to give you things about how to advocate for yourself and for your patients when you're at the hospital, you have to advocate for yourself with your agency. And if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And this high money comes with more intensity than you ever dreamed of. And that we believe in you, and you guys are amazing and heroes, and if you know what you're going into, it's a lot easier. But you just make sure that you have yourself, like, that this recruiter you're working with, that the agency can speak to your requirements, that your paychecks are accurate. I mean, you deserve the best. You should have like the A team supporting you at this time. So you demand it. You set your standards high right now. Because y'all are being asked to do things that we can never even imagine. So you need that support, and just be thoughtful around that, and advocate for yourself. Jill, you want to talk a little bit about what are some things on resumes that facilities are looking for right now? What are some of the really kind of selling points, for lack of a better word, or what is some of the experience that's really coming into play right now to help travelers be successful?
Yeah, the resume is always important. Even though there is a severe crisis and there's a big nursing shortage, you always want yourself to stand out. You always want to be that resume that's on the top of the director's pile, and you want to be that person that can advocate not only for yourself but for everyone on the unit. You travelers in the industry a lot of times teach these facilities about things that they could do better. And I want you to be super careful when I say that. Like, you don't want to go in and be the expert and the know-it-all per se, but the things that you have seen across the country actually benefit some of these facilities who potentially have the same staff who've worked there for 20 plus years and they haven't seen anything else. And so they're shocked and they're surprised to hear from the expertise from a traveler who's been to 5 or 6 different hospitals. So always pointing out the high level facilities that you've been to is key number one on your resume. Always list those level 1 trauma centers. Always lift those teaching facilities, the magnet hospitals. Of course, that makes your resume look fantastic. Are there extra things that nurses can do right now just due to the pandemic? Yeah, talk about where you've been. Talk about what you've done. Talk about if there's any policy that was written on your behalf as a traveler. Talk about the things that you've created in your career that are just really helpful, again, for some of these facilities who maybe still have a lot going on, or some of them through the pandemic have kind of, how do I want to say this in a, to have it make sense, they have revamped their management and their high level leadership teams. Some facilities have, and they've done it for the better, but it takes a long time for them to recover from such an in and out of management, if you will, and it makes it really tough on the nursing staff on the unit. So being able to support in those environments is super important. There's obvious things like certifications, excess certifications to get. We have a certification program at our agency where we want to pay for your certification. So if you're an OR nurse and you want your AORN, we want to pay for that for you, because it's kind of like a little break. Maybe take a little study break and give yourself
Yes.
something nice in the end, and a great reward, and more initials to the end of your name. Nursing is the only, you got 900 initials at the end of your name, the better off you are. So I just think that's just the best advice I can give for the resume.
Great, Jill. Thanks, Jill.
Yeah.
Lori, you describe something that's just like traveling 101. Took my very first assignment about 2 weeks ago. Yay, Lori. Congratulations on your journey. It's hard not to feel like a fish out of water, but other travelers have been the most resourceful and kind on the job so far. It's hard, though, when a facility's workers seem to dislike travelers a lot where I'm currently at.
We hear that every day, Lori. Keep your head up. Keep on finding those partners on the unit to work with you. Don't let anyone who's burned out and overexhausted with a fuse that's only this long wear you down, because everyone's really tired right now. Your physicians, your fellow travelers, everyone's exhausted right now, and that fuse is short. So just do your best to keep your head up and do what you're doing. It sounds like it's going really well.
Great advice. Great advice. We've had such good comments. This is great. I wanted to ask you, Wendy, just about, are there certain facilities or places where you feel like the credentialing or the licensing is moving well? Licensing is always a hot topic. So I know you kind of are our keeper of licensure information. So you want to give us some like high points, low points of licensing nationally?
I actually was looking at this earlier, and what we're seeing, at the start of the pandemic, a lot of states enacted a lot of executive orders surrounding licensure for RNs, and it went really well. They were able to, because a lot of them essentially did was allow you to come to work in their state based off your license in another state being in good standing without it having to be compact. So it was wonderful. We had a whole laundry list of states that were doing that. Then they, obviously they started rolling it back a few months ago. Well, they're reinstating some of them. Off the top of my head, Texas, Tennessee, and Florida, all 3 of those states just reenacted the can work on any active license. California has extended their EMSA for the license process as well. What we're seeing too in some like Arizona, some New Mexico comes to mind. There are some areas where we're seeing a lot of rapid response type requirements where they're loosening those requirements to get folks in there faster. And it just kind of tends to go in clusters and waves, what have you. But New Mexico, I heard about earlier. So they're reacting a little quicker this time. I think I would say from my seat, the hospital systems, they kind of worked it out before, and they're like, okay, this is what we have to do, to get folks in here to help our patients. So
great. That's always
I think an important, it is a hot topic, and I think an important caveat to that is even though the state has made some changes, sometimes the facility doesn't follow suit.
That is
so
true.
Just be cautious with your lovely compliance person, such as Wendy, will help guide you with that, because that was a little tricky for us in the past too, is just to comply with what the facility wants versus what the state wants.
Well, and what we're seeing too this time, Jill, I think, is the facilities learned from that first time. So we're not seeing as much this time where they're like, no, we're not going to allow that. It's more, oh, okay, that worked really well for this hospital.
We trust you now. We're good to go.
Yes. Yes. So that's kind
great
of what
news.
we're seeing now. So yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
So we were got such great, wonderful words of wisdom. Laura, I think Nick Garcia is amazing too.
Yeah.
And his wife works on Jill's team.
She's on my team. She's
Do you know
fantastic.
this, Laura? You know this, Laura. I'm sure you guys all know each other and have been hanging out. I mean, you know all this, but yeah, Brittany's on Jill's team.
Yeah. And we could speak to what Brittany shares with my team and how she takes care of our PICU and pediatric and NICU nurses too out in the industry. She still works at the bedside in her PICU down in Dallas, and the RSV and the amount of sick kiddos in the hospitals right now is through the roof. And it's like something we've never seen before. So, we used to see hospital systems and pediatric populations spike down in the summers, and there was no hospitalizations, and it didn't spike back up until fall winter months with all the RSV and all of these polyviruses that these kiddos are coming in with. Kids aren't coming in now with just RSV, it's adenovirus and just tons of them all mixed together, and these kids are sick. So to our pediatric nurses out there, we know it's tough right now. It's incredibly odd. This started back in June. Here we are in August, and I know it hasn't let up for you all. But thanks to all of you, and Angela Castillo, PICU nurse here. We love you, Angela. Call Brittany on my team and you guys can chat. It'd be fun. She's also a former traveler and has been in probably almost every state in the US in PICU positions. So it's exciting.
Indeed. It has been something else just listening to. It's scary. It's scary for us. I can't imagine what it's like for you guys when there's like no ICU beds. There's no ICU beds in Dallas, Texas, she told us this weekend. We're like, what? There's no ICU beds in Alabama right now. So Jill's really right about understanding your community. And what we're seeing here in our state is that there may be low COVID or things aren't raging here, but they're getting airlifted, right? These people from other parts of the state are coming in, and then there's tension there. So this just like the contentiousness is real, and it's going to be so hard to kind of suit up and be in the middle of all that. We've really been listening to our nurses about what the communities are like and how that feels and how they have to kind of put some things out of their mind and get in for their shift and take care of their patients and show up and suit up and do the best they can under really difficult circumstances. So we know all of you are doing that too. What are we missing, Jill? What else should we be talking about?
Well, I was going to say we're getting quite a crowd, so I wonder if we pose a question. I would love to hear from some of the gypsies and just understand, something we see all the time on my team is that, oh, I interviewed for this position and I got to the facility and it changed by the time I got there. And so everything's changing on a dime, right? So maybe you interviewed for, a medical ICU position, but oops, now they need you in the surgical ICU. And then 2 weeks later, whoops, half of that turned into a COVID ICU. So I would love to hear from some travelers, if we can, to hear your experiences, what you did throughout that change, how you stayed focused, how you made it successfully through that, because it's really hard. Travelers have always floated. Let's be real. I mean, we've always set the expectation that, oh gosh, you're the traveler, you're probably going to be the first one to float off the unit for the night shift or the day shift or whatever. But now it feels like a majority of your travel assignments are almost float assignments. Honestly, you could be floated outside of your scope as helping hands, and you can literally just do anything in the facility. You might be a sitter one night for the mental, health types of holds in the ERs. And so how are you all getting through this? I would love to hear some of your advices and what has worked for you. But in the meantime, I have a story, and I love real life stories because I just think these resonate well and they set well. So we had one of our travelers, oh, it's pouring rain. We had one of our travelers who is in the ER, and he was having just a phenomenal assignment, ended up real short staffed one night and called our on-call service. And we had a conversation with the nurse. He was in the ER, in charge, and given 10 patients. So any ER nurses out there understands that being in charge of an entire ER and also caring for 10 people isn't something that you can do. But what I loved about this story is this nurse took it upon himself to advocate for himself, to call us for help. We gave him some advice to go back to his hospital nursing supervisor to ask for help. He needed a partner to make this successful on his night shift. He let the nursing supervisor know, gosh, I talked to my vice president of clinical services at my agency. This is kind of what she advised me to do. And they had another traveler come in and work with him for the rest of his shift. So it was 2 of them in charge of the ER and taking care of 10 patients. I can't stress enough how you guys in the hospitals working in these environments have to ask for those things and do your very best to get those resources to you. Not all the time is it going to be a win, and I fully understand that, but I think if you can speak up in some of those situations and circumstances, they'll pull through for you because they want you to be successful and they want you to be there to help them. Carol says she's doing critical access in rural areas. We are doing so many specialties and loving it. That's awesome. A small hospital in a rural area can be quite an experience if nobody's ever been to one. A little 25-bed critical care access hospital, you might work in the ER that night and you might deliver a baby. Or you might have a trauma come in that you have to fly off somewhere. Or you just might have some med-surg GI type of cases walk through the door. You never know what's going to walk through your door in those critical care access hospitals. So good for you, Carol. That's an awesome experience. Cool. I want to know where you are. Rural. I mean, that could be Wyoming, Nebraska. Where are you, Carol? Tell us where you are. There's lots of them around where I live. Oh, goodness. What else? Wendy, anything else we need to touch on from a compliance perspective? What are the other challenges that we've seen? Gosh. Montana. I was thinking Wyoming or Montana.
Yeah. Carol. Yeah. We're not seeing as many challenges, in regards to access to clinics, for drug screens, things like that we were seeing before. So that piece has kind of worked itself out for whatever reason, but that's not really an issue right now. So I think just going back to making sure your certifications are up to date, making sure that you allow time in case your class gets canceled. We've seen that so many times. Like they'll all the best intentions, they'll get they want to have the class, but so
and Wendy, to get the big money, right? To get the big money, these start dates are fast. Exactly. So they want you to be complete, guys. They're going to pay you a lot of money to get this done really, really fast. Exactly. So that's another thing to be thinking about, which is if they're paying top dollar crisis rates, they're going to want you there really fast, which means you're going to have to meet the compliance. And even though it may be downgraded compliance, it's still going to require your time. So be careful not to be working for 5 days in a row and trying to do a fast start and trying to juggle all this, because you make yourself crazy. So just be thinking about that too, and making sure that your recruiter is straight with you about what's required and that you know what's happening, because you have enough on your plate trying to get to where you need to be, rather than have some crazy deadlines that are very difficult to hit.
Yeah.
What else,
Wendy,
Wendy?
you made me think of
Jill.
a question. She made me think of a question, and I wonder if this is something we could talk about quick. You know, earlier, back when COVID first hit, it was really tough to find places that were open for some of our travelers to renew certifications and whatnot. Is it like that this round, or have you guys not experienced that yet?
We actually worked, I had a couple team members work really hard last summer, and we got some resources together for virtual skills sessions, and AHA was, you know, sanctioning this and all of that. So that they're still allowing that. So that has appeared to be an option. It's just, I don't know if that knowledge is out there for just anyone to do.
Sure.
If that makes sense. I don't know that if you search for a renewal class on your own, if you're going to get those resources. So I would say, again, you know, if you're having trouble finding an in-person class, or if you're having trouble locating any of those things, you know, just try to work closely with your compliance contact, because they ideally would have some resources to help you with that. Because to answer your question, Jill, yeah, in-person classes, especially for things like CPI and things like that, forget it. That's not happening. You know?
Some agencies don't have a real compliance department though, right? I mean, some agencies, you're not talking to a compliance person.
That's
so
true.
It's really kind of understanding too, like, you know, kind of what the process is and kind of how to help and how to get, you know, support, guys, because I think that's another part too about what kind of agency you're working with, and is it full support or is it self-service? Because those are really important things to know. Not all agencies are created equally.
Yeah, you're driving me to another thought, Rose, and I think this is just important and really good advice for travelers out there in the industry too right now. You know, there's such a lack of resources in the facilities just everywhere. It's not just a couple pockets here and there, it's everywhere. You're not having the support with your, you know, your CNAs and transport and secretaries. You might be entering your own orders. You're just really pulled in a million and one directions, which sets you up for more errors. It sets you up for more situations where you could be involved in serious liability types of situations while you're in your assignment. So I think the best piece of advice I would give is to always make sure that you reach out to your agency if something is escalated or if something like that is going on with you in your facility. You want to be supported well and you want to be represented well in those situations. So if you're involved in a sentinel event, even if you're not primary patient, if you're not the primary nurse for the patient, but you were involved and you were there, you want to let your facility know or your agency know, and work and partner with them just to make sure the best outcome is available for you. That's why my clinical team is so large. We are here to support when those types of things happen. We don't want you to feel alone, because that stuff is scary. It's one of the scariest things. Even after I was a nurse for a while, I was like, ooh, why'd I do this? Because you just think to yourself, wow, I should have malpractice insurance, or I have to think about these things. And, you know, it's just noted more today than it was 2 years ago, because the hospital census is just beyond full and the nursing shortage has unfortunately gotten worse. So be cautious, use your resources, and use your chain of command while you're in the hospital, for sure.
Good advice, Jill. Do you want to end on a couple months ago, Jill did a terrific Gypsy Live with John McClelland, one of our benefits experts at Travel Nurse Across America, Jill, you kind of want to wrap up on some mental health and
Absolutely.
self-care.
Yes.
Let's land there for everyone. It's a lot going on, and I think you've done a lot of research, so we'll land there. Then we'll take any questions that are left from our community out there, and then let's call it.
Yeah. It was fun having John come out on Gypsy along with myself. It's really neat to see the amount of benefits that are out there for all of us, and we maybe don't know it. You maybe don't know what exists or what's at your fingertips. So always get with your agency and understand what's available to you. But I know for a fact that EAP services are available for almost everyone, and they're very, very simple to use. I cannot explain how simple they are to use. And I've even shared previously, and I'll share again, that I used it for my 16-year-old who was going through homeschool last year, and she wasn't a very happy camper. But I was partnered up with an adolescent therapist who worked with her. She got 6 sessions, and let me tell you, she just turned my daughter around. I can't manage the little 16-year-old right now. I mean, it's a different kind of thing, but I think it's really important for everyone to hear that you've got to look that benefit up, because you'd be shocked at how simple it is to use, and you would be shocked at how beneficial it can be, whether it's for you or whether it's for a family member. But we discovered a lot of other things that are out there for travel nurses, such as Talkspace was one of them. There are websites that you can go to that can give you, certain kinds of music as you're traveling across the country, different podcasts that are at your fingertips just for support, emotional support, and things like that to utilize. So here at our agency, and Rose can back this up 100%, we are advising that you all take some breaks in between your travel assignments. We just know that it's really, really tough out there right now, and we just hate to see 48-hour work weeks, 60-hour work weeks over and over again. I just know how difficult that is. I mean, I worked 48-hour work week will put you down for 2 days, and then you're right back starting over again. So self-care, taking care of yourself, finding those things that you like to do to make you happy and to give yourself that light and that break is just super important. Friends, family, laughter is always good. Laughter boosts your immune system. Hello. I was like, what? It does. And so get with your friends, be safe, of course, but enjoy the time and the laughter and take breaks. I just don't know what else to say. I cannot stress it enough. I say that to my team too. We're all really tired. Everyone in the hospital is really tired, but everyone across the country, kind of regardless of what you do, really needs to look into their benefits and see what's offered for them, and don't be shy about it. Yeah.
Right. We've been talking about that. Maybe that's a silver lining that comes out of this. It used to just be that we thought of PTSD as shell shock and something that soldiers and people in the military had to deal with. And now we just see it take form and manifest in lots of different ways. And maybe that opens our heart to be more compassionate about it and recognize it better so that we can help each other out. So that is just I think the right note for us to end on today. Thank you to our Gypsy friends for giving us this forum to come on and share what we know. It's always so great to have interaction, like Jill said, with the community. We're so grateful we had Wendy here. We took Wendy on a tour of licensure, vaccines. I mean, your BLS card. Way to go, Wendy. You killed it your first time out. Now you're gonna have to come back out with us on these events.
I enjoyed it. I had a blast.
That's what happened. So Rachel, thanks so much for bringing it out there. Thank you, Carol. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you all. And if you guys have any questions, if you're watching this later, just put it in the comments and we'll direct you to the right people. So we want the conversation to keep going. So definitely put those in the comments. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, Philip.